Again, I come from a background working with the YMCA, working with Te Wānanga Wātoroa, working with, with young people. I've been teaching for more than half my life. And because of that, we recognize there's a lot in place for the mental health and emotional health support of adults and of children, but teenagers are already, teenagehood is already wonky enough and traumatic enough without the addition of a global pandemic. So my thing is, I want to go to the root of the issues for us each individually, whether it's through commissioned songwriting, whether it's through coaching, through songwriting. It's about making sure that the mental and emotional and social well-being of our young people is being catered first and foremost. We have found that this generation particularly find it incredibly difficult to communicate in person, because communication in that form is so difficult for them. So working on an online platform like this, using something as non-confrontational as songwriting is actually perfect for Generation Z, because it's still giving them the opportunity to channel their voices, to do that inner work in a way that doesn't confront them by having a conversation in person with somebody. And I'm actually going to go back to when I was teaching at Te Wānanga Wātoroa to address that, because yes, it can be very concerning through a Western lens to be like, okay, why aren't these kids communicating effectively or learning how we want them to learn, or expressing themselves how we want to express them to express themselves. Back when myself and one of the other kaiako, Sam Taylor, were teaching at Te Wānanga Wātoroa, we actually presented our students with research projects where typically you would ask for a research paper or an essay to be written. We actually got our students to wrap their research. And simply through adjusting how they were presenting their research in a way that was more comfortable for them, that was almost like a security blanket, because let's face it, a lot of people gravitate towards music to lean into those parts of themselves, to express themselves. We all listen to music to kind of help ourselves feel validated and understood. When we're able to wrap our information as opposed to writing essays, honestly, the vocabulary, the understanding, the depth of their knowledge was expressed beautifully. It's the same way in songwriting. When you give a child or a teenager the opportunity to use songwriting as a security blanket, to almost serve as they're like, okay, I don't have to be Timothy Jones today. I can be rapper Tim J, or whatever. That's not very gangster, beautiful. But you know what I mean?
But that's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
And so because they've now got that cloak around them, they're able to step into that communication more authentically. They're able to show up better for themselves. They're able to express themselves more diligently. And here's the fun fact, is now they've found the languaging so that when it does come to those person-to-person conversations, they know what to say. They know how to show up, and they know how to communicate effectively with their peers, their parents, their greater communities, their teachers. The thing about youth empowerment through songwriting in particular is it's very vulnerable
What's
work.
that title you said really quickly?
Youth empowerment through songwriting coaching. So yes, beautiful. Youth coaching. And the reason, yes, youth coaching, it's a very vulnerable work. And given how teenagers are already in that awkward phase of their lives, I mean, let's be real, adults go through this as well, so this is not just a unique fact for teenagers. But given that teenagers tend to be more susceptible to peer pressure, more susceptible to wanting to impress, and social media has been a symptom of that, it's harder for young people to be vulnerable in front of one another, because what would, whoever their classmate think if I was to show up and be like, okay, I'm struggling with X, Y, or Z, right? So that's why there's a value in doing one-on-one. However, when we work in a classroom environment, it is still possible to to do this kind of work through that. And the benefits of that actually, and I've worked with a school over in Seattle on this very same thing, and the results that they saw with working in a classroom environment online was that it actually increased the connection and the communication between peer groups and between peer groups and teachers. So that was really beautiful. But the kids need to be in a space where, sorry, I hate using the word kids, the teenagers need to be in a space where they feel safe enough to be vulnerable with one another.